Kashimo is a very interesting character in Jujutsu Kaisen. He seems to be an intermediate between hero and villain. I think it's safe to say that Kashimo has his own goals in mind, and he doesn't care whose team he has to be on to achieve those goals. Kashimo isn't interested in fighting Sukuna to save humanity, he's doing it for his own sake. It seems as though he wants to fight Sukuna just for the thrill of it. Kashimo once thought he was the strongest sorcerer of all time. This came down to the dominance he was showing during his era, and at the time he was an unrivaled sorcerer. But he later found out from Kenjaku that there were beings even stronger than him, which ignited his ambition to fight the strongest. Hence why he decided to make the binding vow and join the culling games as a reincarnated sorcerer. The only problem I have with Kashimo is that is literally just the extent of his character. All he wants to do is fight Sukuna, and there doesn't seem to be much depth within his true intentions. What I'm hoping for in his fight with Sukuna is that we get to see more of his true colours and what his true intentions actually are. This could be done through something simple, just like his backstory, or just a flashback sequence to maybe his era. But I still want to see a crazy fight between him and Sukuna, but I also want to learn more about his character, if that makes sense. So it will be important for Gege to find the balance between developing Kashimo's character while still giving us a good fight. But in this video I want to get into what Kashimo's secret curse technique is, as that is the reason most of you clicked on this video. So we know Kashimo has a secret curse technique that he's just waiting to use against Sukuna, but why is Kashimo's curse technique so important in their fight? When Kashimo made the binding vow with Kenjaku about the culling games, he also made another binding vow regarding his curse technique. It was stated that Kashimo could only use his curse technique one more time. This was perfect for Kashimo as he was only bothered about using this curse technique one more time against the King of Curses. In exchange for only being able to use this curse technique one more time, the power of this technique was going to be much more powerful. I still don't think, even with this boost in strength, that this will be enough to defeat a likely full power Sukuna, and this is because Sukuna will have likely defeated Gojo and got his last finger, as well as increasing his power even further. Also, Sukuna likely needs to battle Yuji, as it wouldn't make sense for the co-main villain to be defeated by somewhat of a side character. It makes the absolute most sense for Yuji vs Sukuna to happen, mainly for the fact that Yuji is the key for freeing Megumi. Also, Yuji probably has the most potential to surpass Sukuna, apart from maybe Yuta, who is already going to be occupied with Kenjaku. But what we still don't know is what Kashimo's curse technique actually is, and I have some theories as to what it could be. It is also important to point out I don't think we know how much Kashimo's curse technique is boosted by, but I think it will be significant enough to deal a lot of damage to Sukuna and actually affect Sukuna in his final battle. We also have to take into consideration that a sorcerer is only at 20% of their full power without their curse technique. This means, technically speaking, with Kashimo's curse technique, he would be 5 times stronger, and then multiply that by the amount that his curse technique is actually amped, being so Kashimo already scaled relative to Hakari, who scaled somewhat relative to Yuta, maybe a little bit below. Imagine how much, maybe a 20 times stronger version of Kashimo would be. I think he's definitely going to be able to rival Sukuna. But obviously there'll probably be a time restraint put on Kashimo. But getting on to my first theory, and probably the most likely theory, is going to involve lightning, as we all know that Kashimo has access to manipulate his cursed energy to have lightning characteristics. Kashimo has already displayed countless different lightning techniques in his fight with Hakari. However, what I think his curse technique will actually be is, instead of controlling where lightning can go, he can actually manifest lightning and then change its shape and composition. If Kashimo was able to do this, it would mean that he could surround himself in lightning armor as well as shoot perhaps lightning bolts. He'd be able to create lightning weapons, and there's just infinite versatility of this curse technique. This would be such a cool and unique ability. If this was to happen, I can't wait to see all the different forms he decides to take in this lightning form. One of the reasons this ability would be so strong is because he can actually make an impenetrable defense. With this technique being boosted, it means that the lightning Kashimo manifests are actually of much higher voltage. This would mean that the damage that he deals to Sukuna would also be much higher. And it also means that the strength of the lightning bolts, if we were to give it physical properties, would be much stronger. So Kashimo was already able to shoot lightning bolts which ripped through Jackpot Hakari, who is said to have an infinite amount of cursed energy, although that is debatable. Imagine what a significantly amped version of these lightning bolts could do. I would assume that the lightning attacks are much faster and more difficult to react to as well. It will be almost impossible for Sukuna to dodge, being so lightning already travels at 270,000 miles per hour. So boosting that using this curse technique, it travels close to 500,000 miles per hour, which no character in the series is likely going to be able to dodge. We were technically hinted towards this when we saw the former version of Kashimo, where it seemed he has sparks of lightning surrounding him. This technique should also hard counter Malevolent Shrine, as well as Cleave and Dismantle. I would assume that being so the lightning would be impenetrable, the condition for this technique would be that he can't use it for very long. So very similar to Hakari, he has a time limit, and once that time is up, he's in a very sticky situation. The way I see Sukuna countering this though would be using his black box technique, where he will pull out a curse technique which directly counters Kashimo's lightning. Sukuna can't really use any curse techniques against Gojo, as Limitless likely counters everything Sukuna has in his black box. This is why we haven't seen Sukuna use this ability in their fight. However, it makes perfect sense for Sukuna to use this against Kashimo, and that could be the way he ends up defeating Kashimo in their battle. But I think this ability would look so cool, and it literally has infinite possibilities. Kashimo would look amazing. It would be like a lightning Susanoo. Like, just imagine the designs Giga could make with this version of Kashimo. Their fight would just look even better than it already would have. However, moving on to my second theory on Kashimo's secret curse technique, is he's able to manipulate natural disasters. This means Kashimo would have advanced knowledge of what causes a natural disaster and the conditions which need to be met for one to occur. This actually makes a lot of sense when you think about how Kashimo can adapt his lightning curse energy manipulation to affect his surroundings. In his battle with Hakari, when they were both in the water, Kashimo applied his lightning technique in the water. This initiated the technique of electrolysis, which separates the substances within the water. But what was different about this water was it was salty water. So Kashimo is gaining a lot of negative charge in order to create a potential difference, which is part of his lightning curse energy manipulation. This meant that he is able to become negatively charged, meaning that he attracts the hydrogen particles. But as Hakari is positively charged, he attracts the negatively charged particles, which would be the chlorine gas. Kashimo is clearly showing his advanced knowledge of how particles interact here. This means that he can likely change the particles within the atmosphere to induce a natural disaster, or more specifically a storm. His curse technique could make it so Kashimo can change the atmospheric pressure so that a tornado could occur, for example, or maybe even a tsunami. Anything which can be considered a natural disaster, he can actually create. This can be used alongside lightning to barrage Sukuna with attacks which he can't actually deal with. Say for instance, Kashimo was able to cause a tsunami, and then electrified the water so that when it hit Sukuna, he would not only be crushed by the tsunami, but he would also be electrocuted, dealing even more damage towards Sukuna. This could also be used in conjunction with a domain to make sure it's a sure hit on Sukuna. I don't think we know whether Kashimo has a domain, but if we do already know whether he does or doesn't, make sure to leave it in the comments down below. But if he did, then using this would make all of the natural disasters he causes to occur to be a sure hit on Sukuna. The only problem I have with this theory is why would Kashimo need for this to be amplified? The only possibility I could think of is previously he could only cause one natural disaster, but with a buffed version, he can actually cause multiple natural disasters all at once. But being totally honest, this doesn't really fit alongside the idea that this attack for Kashimo will be one big final last ditch effort. But I think it would be a cool technique for Kashimo to have access to. Obviously, a lot of people are just thinking that Kashimo's final technique would just be a huge lightning bolt, which would be so cool, but only for a few panels really. What I want to see is Kashimo fighting with this curse technique, showing different applications of lightning, similar to my first theory. Just having one big lightning bolt which strikes Sukuna survives, and oh well, it just isn't going to be as cool as a lightning style technique. I personally believe that this curse technique amplification will give Kashimo a huge advantage over Sukuna. The reason I think Kashimo will gain the upper hand here is because despite Gojo getting destroyed by Sukuna at times, Kashimo has been shown to be unfazed by these situations. This could be because Kashimo has no idea the true strength of Gojo and Sukuna, but the likelihood is that Kashimo knows that this final attack is so strong it would likely destroy Sukuna. But that is all for this theory. If you have your own ideas of what Kashimo's secret curse technique could be, then make sure to leave them in the comments down below. Also, if you have any feedback on how I could improve this content, like the editing, or how I deliver these theories, then make sure to also leave that in the comments. I want to produce the best quality content possible for you guys, so any feedback on how I can improve is muchly appreciated. Also, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to like, and if you are enjoying my content at the moment and want to support out the channel, then make sure to subscribe, as it means a lot to me. But with that all said, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.